What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also hit that like button for this video. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BoxingWave10. Let's talk super flyweight, bantamweight division, 115 and 118. About a half hour ago, I read an article on BoxingScene.com. Basically, Ioka, Kazuto Ioka, who just recently stopped Kosei Tanaka, he wants to move up. He wants to go up to 118 and finish off his career by trying to become a five weight champion by fighting Inoue. Okay. First off, I think he's crazy. I think he's crazy, but I don't think it's as far-fetched as some of the other fights that we've seen, guys moving up two divisions, and fighting the best division. Kell Brook did it. Mikey Garcia done it. Some other fighters have done it, and they didn't really look too good doing it. We know Guillermo Rigondeaux moved up to fight Vasyl Lomachenko, okay? But I don't think it's as far-fetched. But I also believe that, especially because Inoue basically moved up to, I think he's a 3-division champion currently right now. I think he started at flyweight, or I think he at least was a titleist at flyweight. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was like down at 112, 115, 118, something like that. All right. But look, Inoue is a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. He is the World Boxing Super Series winner, and he's unified. Okay. That would be a great challenge for Ioka. If he were to want to go up and do that, I have no problems with that at all. The thing is with that, and his win against Tanaka was a great win. I was a little bit unfamiliar with Tanaka until, leading up to that fight. Just to do my research, I went back and watched some of Tanaka's stuff before leading up to that fight. I was more familiar with Ioka, less familiar with Tanaka. But it was a good win, and I thought Tanaka was actually winning the fight early on. Younger guy, faster, the combination, stuff like that. But Ioka was able to stop him, outbox him, and stop him late. The thing is, with these two divisions, there's a lot of work to be done in these two divisions, right? You don't have any unified champions at 115. I would like to see some. Now, we do have Estrada and Roman Gonzalez rematch coming up, which is great. These guys fought years ago. Gonzalez beat him the first fight. But Estrada has had the more success in recent years. Okay. So I would like to see, I definitely want to see these two guys fight. I would love to see Ioka fight in Casas and try to unify. And that would be great. If these two can unify and maybe we can get like, an undisputed match. If these two were to unify and then the winner of Roman Gonzalez and Estrada were to fight the winner of Casas and Ioka, that would be great because we can have an undisputed champion by the end of the year. I mean, these guys have moved up several divisions, 3, 4, 5 divisions, and won titles in all these divisions. But I would love to see an undisputed champion between any of them, And I've been consistent with this. I've been consistent with even the higher divisions. I've been saying this with Canelo and some of the other fighters that's moved around, won titles in different divisions, even going back to Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. I would love for one of them to have become undisputed. There's a lot of fighters have titles in different divisions, and that's great. That's great to do it. But a lot of those fighters that did that did not unify, nor did they win a title by beating the best fighter, the most recognized fighters in that division. I think Canelo beating Callum Smith was a good win, because at the time, Callum Smith was the most decorated at 168 as far as the champions are concerned, but none of them unified. None of them on paper, yes, he's the most decorated, but none of them unified. So I would like to see more unification. I understand that these guys are just, they're in their 30s now, so they want the big fights. They want to, have those big fights and, accomplish more. But you can also accomplish a lot by unifying and potentially becoming undisputed. And let me tell you something, Ioka, great win against Tanaka. Great win. But the other challenges at 115 are not easy. They're not easy. In Contest, I've seen a little bit of his stuff. Probably my least favorite out of the four champions at that division. But it's not an easy fight. That's not an easy fight. And neither is the winner of Estrada and Roman Gonzalez. None of these fights are really easy. But listen, if Inoue were to take the challenge, and they make this, you would think that they're both Japanese, that they would probably have it out there for their fans. But he wants to have a big fight in the United States. And I'm not mad at that at all. But even at 118, there's a lot of work to be done still. There's a lot of fights that we still want to see. We want to see the Casemiro fight with Inoue. We want to see if he can become undisputed as well. You got Ubali that's still up there. He's still a champion up there. I think they had to reschedule his fight. So there's still other work. There's still more work that needs to be done in 118. So I like all of these options that's out there. They're great options. But in each division, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And my whole thing is, and like I said, this is all consistent here. I have no problems with fighters moving up in weight, challenging the best fighter in the division above them. That's great. But I want to, even though I don't think it's super far-fetched him wanting this, I mean, Tanaka moved up to fight him. I still want a fighter to prove that he's the best before going up to the best fighter in the next division up. That's my personal preference. We don't have to agree here. That's just my personal preference, and I've always been consistent with that. With any fighter that's moving up and challenging themselves and challenging, especially if you're challenging the best or one of the best in that division. Like those examples I gave you. Triple G for Kell Brook, Errol Spence for Mikey Garcia, Lomachenko for Rigondeaux. Those are, you going up two divisions to fight the best fighter. And none of these fighters have been successful or close to it. They got destroyed. They got completely outscored or they got stopped. So Ioka moving up, cool. That's a great accomplishment for you if that's what he wants to do. Wants to become a 5-division champion. That's great. But there's still a lot of work for me to believe that he can beat Inoue. And this is no disrespect, that Tanaka win was a great win. But for him to beat Inoue, I don't know. I just don't know. But the thing about 115 too, a lot of these fighters are rated high in the pound for pound. They might not even be in your personal pound for pound. But if you watch these fighters and you follow this division and you follow 118 and you follow the smaller divisions in general, I've seen pound for pound lists that has both Ioka and Estrada in the pound for pound list, and then they're in the same division. I believe Ioka is the first fighter to. I think he started at minimum weight and won a title in each division. So that's a great accomplishment. I mean, if you could go out and win titles in the lowest 5 divisions, that would be great. That's a great accomplishment, but there's so much I still want to see in these divisions, man, and that's just how I feel about it, Also, I know I was talking about becoming undisputed at 115. I don't know what happens with the winner of Estrada and Roman Gonzalez. I think Sor Rungvisai is the mandatory for one of those titles, either one or two of those titles, both of those titles. I believe he is the mandatory for the winner of that fight. So that can, and I'm not mad at that because that's a legit mandatory. That's not one of those random guys that they just placed at number one. You know how I feel about those mandatories. I'm cool with the mandatories if it's a real legit fighter, top fighter. Not just a guy that was just randomly put up there for beating a random person that is a random cab driver. You know what I'm saying? That is a legit. Sor Rungvisai has been in the ring with both Roman Gonzalez and Estrada before. And he's beaten both. All right. He beat Gonzalez twice, knocked him out the second time, and he beat Estrada in their first fight. All right. So that's a legit threat to both fighters. So we might not even get an undisputed, even if we were, or another unification after. You know, after this fight, the winner might go straight to Sor Rungvisai. All right, so I understand. It's so much work to be done, especially at 115. Especially there, there's so much work to be done because there currently aren't any unified champions right now. All right, so and you know, to speak a little bit about Sor Rungvisai, I don't know if I covered a fight here. Maybe I did a video review of his rematch with Estrada, but they got to run that back. I need to see that fight again, more so than the Roman Gonzalez fight, because Sor Rungvisai fought a terrible fight in that rematch. I mean, the dude is a southpaw. He fights half the fight righty, losing. He pretty much lost every single round the first half of the fight. And he's fighting as a righty. And then at some point in that fight, he's just switching from righty to lefty. Like, he's confused. He's down so hard. I think there was like a sense of urgency there, and he didn't know what to do with himself. They need to run that fight back. But he needs to fight as a southpaw the entire fight, because you won the first fight fighting one way. You beat Roman Gonzalez twice fighting that way. Why would you fight as a righty if you won the fight previous to that fighting as a lefty? It just never made sense. So that's just one of those fights that I want to see again, just like I want to see Gonzalez against Estrada. But these fights, I don't know. I'm just kind of just picking them, just throwing different ideas out there. These fights need to occur, you know, and I don't know how. You know, I don't know how Ioka and his, you know, I don't know what he's really going to do here. You know, I don't know if Inoue is going to really welcome that fight and offer that fight for him, because it's like Inoue, I want to see him fight Casemiro. You know, I want to see if he can become undisputed. I want to see other stuff up there. All right. So, listen, I think, and I meant to say this in the beginning. I think us boxing fans, if you are a hardcore fan, not just a casual fan, or even if you are a casual fan and you're just getting into the sport, you should definitely start tuning into these smaller divisions. You know, if you really want to see the best fight the best, these fighters are not as protected as the larger divisions. You know, the bigger divisions, they're not as protected. You know, they're more willing to take tougher challenges, you know. And most of these fighters are not U.S. based, okay? A lot of them are fighting here, yes, but a lot of them are from different countries, South America. You got, Asian fighters. A lot of these fighters, they don't have the same boxing culture. You know what I'm saying? They usually have to fight the best, and this is why they have losses. Please don't just look at their records and think that it tells the full story. So I think a lot of fans, or if you are getting tired of the diva stuff, start watching these fights, because it's a lot of good fights. And I'm going to try to do my best to cover more of these fights. I mean, I have been, but not, consistently, I honestly didn't really start. Roman Gonzalez actually made me really start watching these fights, maybe around the time he fought Brian Viloria. Okay, so maybe around that time when he fought McWilliams and Quadras, and he started to move up before he ran into Sor Rungvisai. I started watching it then and started paying attention then, and that was years back. This is like 5-6 years ago now. So I think I started paying attention then, and it's very, very entertaining. These divisions, yes, they're smaller, but very, 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 very interesting divisions. A lot of good fights. So definitely pay attention, and I will try to make more videos, more content on these divisions, all right? Because they're great. And it's no diva stuff. There's no Instagram talk. There's no A-side, B-side talk. They just fight. They make the fights happen. And I think the promoters are more willing to throw these guys in the ring with each other because at the end of the day, it's like a cult following. Like for the people that do focus on these divisions, it's like a cult following because not every boxing fan is in, and even some of the hardcore boxing fans are just not into these divisions. Doesn't mean you're not hardcore. Doesn't mean you're casual. It's just that I think a lot of boxing fans don't really go below 122, 126, So anyway, I just wanted to say that I'm going to do better at covering these these weight divisions. And I just wanted to hear from you guys. What do you want to see with Ioka? Are you interested in seeing that fight with Inoue? Are you interested in seeing unification, undisputed? What fights do you want to see? Who do you think is going to win between Gonzalez and Estrada in the rematch? All right. I definitely was more impressed. I did do the live commentary for their last fights, their doubleheader that they had late last year. I actually was a little bit more impressed with Estrada's performance, even though Roman Gonzalez pretty much dominated. I was a little bit more impressed because of who he was facing, first of all, and just his boxing overall. I was just a little bit more impressed. Doesn't mean that I think he's going to win the rematch, but I'll do a breakdown soon, definitely, because they're supposed to be fighting in a couple months. All right, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you guys subscribe again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.